The envelope slipped from the spine of a forgotten volume on the top shelf, tumbling like a confession no one had dared to utter, landing at Miguel's feet with a whisper that echoed louder than the autumn rain pattering against the library windows. He knelt, fingers trembling as they traced the faded ink. For Elias, from the one who waits, a name that stirred ghosts in Willow Creek's collective memory, a town built on silences thicker than Vermont fog. In that instant, Miguel knew the letters would unravel him, thread by yellowed thread, exposing the love he'd buried deeper than the graves in the old cemetery. Miguel Reyes had always been the shadow in Willow Creek's single-room library, a 32-year-old man whose presence registered like the hum of the ancient radiator, necessary but unnoticed. The town, nestled in the green cradle of Vermont's northeast kingdom, was a postcard of red brick facades and maple-lined streets, where secrets fermented in the cellars of clapboard houses and spilled only during the long winters when isolation turned neighbors into reluctant confessors. Folks came for the classics or the latest Harlan Coben, nodding politely at Miguel as he stamped due dates with ink-stained hands, but their eyes slid past him, as if he were just another fixture between the fiction aisle and the local history section. He didn't mind, or so he told himself. It was safer that way. Born in Willow Creek to parents who'd crossed the border from Mexico 2 decades earlier, Miguel had grown up bilingual in a town that prized its Yankee reserve. His father, a stoic dairy farmer, had died young from a heart attack in the milking barn, leaving Miguel and his mother to scrape by on her seamstress wages and his scholarships to Burlington for library science. Now, 32, he lived in the small apartment above the library, a space cluttered with dog-eared paperbacks and the faint scent of chamomile tea. He was gay, had known it since high school, when stolen glances at the quarterback in the locker room twisted his stomach into knots. But Willow Creek wasn't the kind of place that invited such truths. Here, love was for heterosexuals in matching flannel at the annual harvest fair, or for the quiet endurance of marriages that outlasted the snowdrifts. That rainy Tuesday in October, as the clock ticked toward closing, Miguel was reshelving returns when the envelope fell. It was tucked inside a 1950s edition of Leaves of Grass, Walt Whitman's verses dog-eared and brittle, as if someone had sought solace in the poet's embrace of the body electric. The paper was onion-skin thin, sealed with wax that had long since cracked like old promises. Miguel's heart stuttered. He glanced around the empty reading room, the only patron a Mrs. Hargrove dozing over Reader's Digest, her snores a soft counterpoint to the storm outside. He shouldn't have opened it. Protocol demanded he log found items, perhaps box them for the historical society run by prickly old Harlan Graves, who collected town lore like trophies. But the handwriting, elegant, slanted, urgent, pulled at him. With a breath that fogged the air, Miguel slit the seal. "My dearest Elias," it began, the words blooming across the page like wild asters after frost. "The nights grow colder without you, and I find myself tracing the map of your shoulders in the dark, wondering if God forgives a man for loving as fiercely as we do. They whisper in the diner, call us sinners, but what sin is there in the way your laugh breaks the silence of this hollow town? Meet me at the old mill tomorrow, under the harvest moon. Yours, in shadows, J. The initial hung there, a hook in Miguel's chest. Elias Whitaker, everyone knew the name. The Whitaker family had founded Willow Creek in the 1800s, Their lumber mill the heartbeat of the town until it shuddered in the 70s. Elias had been the golden boy, valedictorian, heir apparent, gone too soon in a car wreck at 25. But Jay? No one spoke of Jay. The letter was dated 1952, yellowed but preserved, as if the pages themselves had held their breath. Miguel folded it carefully, slipping it into his pocket like contraband. The library door chimed, a latecomer shaking rain from his coat. Evening. Miguel called Ben Caldwell, the hardware store owner, his voice booming in the quiet. "Got that order of nails ready?" "Right here," Miguel replied, forcing a smile as he handed over the parcel. Ben's eyes, sharp as his saw blades, lingered a beat too long. "You look like you've seen a ghost, son." "Everything all right? Just the weather," Miguel lied, the envelope burning against his thigh. Ben grunted, paid, and left, the bell tinkling like a warning. That night, in his apartment, Miguel brewed tea and spread the letter on his scarred oak table, the lamplight casting long shadows that danced like forbidden lovers. He read it again, then again, the words seeping into his veins. "What sin is there in the way your laugh breaks the silence?" They mirrored his own unspoken aches, the crushes on straight boys in college, the one-night stand in Burlington that ended in awkward goodbyes, the loneliness that wrapped around him like the wool blanket from his mother's old trunk. By dawn, he was back in the library, scouring the local history shelves for clues. The Whitaker file yielded grainy photos. Elias, broad-shouldered and beaming in a Letterman jacket. The mill, skeletal against the hills. Newspaper clippings about the accident. A single car wrapped around an oak on Route 5. Nothing on Jay. But as Miguel delved deeper, another envelope fluttered free, from the Great Gatsby, of all places, tucked behind the flyleaf. This one was from Elias to Jay. "Your words are my anchor in this storm of pretense. The town sees a son, a future mayor, but you see me, the boy who dreams of cities where men walk hand in hand. I fear the harvest moon will be our last, for father speaks of arrangements with the Ellsworth girl. Burn this if it finds you. With all I am." Miguel's hands shook. These weren't just letters. They were lifelines, fragile as the frost etching his window panes. Jay Jameson? Jasper? The names swirled in his mind, pulling him into the town's underbelly. Willow Creek prided itself on community. Potlucks at the Congregational Church, bonfires at the lake. But beneath it lay strata of unacknowledged pain. The mill workers laid off in 76, whispering of union busts. The teenage pregnancies hushed with quick weddings. The suicides chalked up to hunting accidents. He hid the letters in his desk drawer, vowing to return them anonymously. But curiosity, that old serpent, coiled tighter. By afternoon, as golden light slanted through the stacks, a new face appeared at the circulation desk. Tall, with rain-dampened auburn hair and a duffel slung over one shoulder, the man scanned the room like he was mapping unfamiliar terrain. "Hi," he said, voice warm as cider, extending a hand. "I'm Ethan Hale. Just moved here from Seattle. Need a library card." Miguel blinked, caught off guard. Ethan's eyes were green, flecked with gold, and his grip firm, lingering just a fraction too long. "Welcome to Willow Creek," Miguel managed, his pulse a traitor. What brings you to our corner of nowhere? Family ties, Ethan replied, flashing a grin that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Uncle left me his place on Maple Lane. Figured a fresh start couldn't hurt. As Miguel processed the application, Ethan James Hale, 30, graphic designer, Miguel's gaze snagged on the middle name. James. J. No. Coincidence. Had to be. But when Ethan leaned in to sign, his sleeve brushed Miguel's arm, sending a spark that lit the dim room anew. That evening, as Miguel locked up, Ethan lingered on the steps. Hey, know a good spot for coffee around here? This town's got more charm than caffeine, it seems. The diner on Main, Miguel suggested, heart thudding. But it's mostly black coffee and pie, Ethan chuckled. Sold. Join me? Consider it payment for the card. Miguel hesitated, the letters heavy in his pocket. But the rain had stopped, and the air hummed with possibility, the first crack in his carefully constructed solitude. They walked the 3 blocks in companionable silence, boots splashing shallow puddles that mirrored the street lamp's glow. The diner, Flo's, was a relic. Vinyl booths cracked like old skin, the jukebox crooning Patsy Cline. They slid into a corner booth, and over steaming mugs, Ethan unfolded his story. Laid off from a tech firm, a messy breakup with his boyfriend of 5 years. He wanted the white picket fence, I wanted to breathe, and now, inheriting a creaky Victorian from an uncle he barely knew. Sounds like escape, Miguel said softly, stirring his coffee. Redemption, maybe, Ethan countered, his gaze steady. What about you? Born and raised. Guilty, Miguel admitted, a smile tugging his lips. Librarian by trade, ghost by choice. Ethan's laugh was low, genuine. Willow Creek's lucky to have you haunting the place. The conversation flowed like the Winooski River after thaw. Books, movies, the absurdity of small-town gossip. Miguel found himself sharing snippets. His mother's tamales at Christmas, the way the library's silence felt like home. Ethan listened, really listened, his knee brushing Miguel's under the table, accidental at first, then not. As they parted under the diner's neon sign, Ethan paused. This was nice, Miguel. Let's do it again, minus the interrogation. I'd like that, Miguel said, the words tasting foreign. Sweet. Alone in his apartment, the letters called to him. He spread them out, Elias and Jay's words a duet of desperation and devotion. Burn this if it finds you, but Miguel couldn't. Not when Ethan's laugh echoed in his ears, stirring echoes of his own buried longings. For the first time in years, Willow Creek felt less like a cage and more like a canvas, blank, waiting for color. Little did he know, the letters held more than one town's history. They cradled secrets that would bind him to Ethan, fracture the fragile peace, and force Willow Creek to confront the loves it had entombed. The days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Miguel's routine cracked open by Ethan's unexpected orbit. Mornings began with the library's ritual, unlocking the heavy oak door, brewing coffee in the back room, sorting the overnight returns, but now, Ethan's texts pinged like distant thunder. Morning. Found a box of vinyl in the attic. "Care to spin some Sinatra later?" Miguel would reply with a thumbs up, his thumbs clumsy on the screen, heart aflutter in ways that felt both exhilarating and perilous. Ethan's uncle's house on Maple Lane was a gingerbread relic, sagging porch and all, and it became their unofficial haven. One crisp evening, as leaves skittered across the lawn like fleeing confessions, Miguel arrived with a bottle of Cabernet and a stack of records scavenged from the library's donation bin. Ethan greeted him at the door in a heather gray sweater that hugged his frame, sleeves pushed up to reveal forearms dusted with freckles. "You read my mind," Ethan said, pulling him inside. The air smelled of sawdust and fresh paint. Ethan was renovating, one room at a time, turning neglect into something livable. They settled in the living room, a space dominated by a stone fireplace and mismatched armchairs. Sinatra crooned from the turntable, his voice a velvet rope pulling them closer. Over wine, Ethan shared more. Growing up in Seattle's drizzle, coming out at 16 to parents who hugged him tighter instead of pushing away. The ache of his ex's betrayal, a one-night stand uncovered via a careless text. It wasn't the cheating, Ethan confessed, swirling his glass. It was realizing I'd ignored the signs for love's sake. Miguel nodded, the letters a ghost between them. He hadn't mentioned them yet, the discovery too raw, too intertwined with his own guarded heart. Instead, he offered fragments, the library's hidden nooks, where he'd hidden as a kid from bullies chanting Beaner after his father's death, the solace of stories that let him love vicariously. "You're a quiet storm, Miguel," Ethan murmured, his hand finding Miguel's on the armrest. The touch was electric, tentative, but neither pulled away. As the fire crackled, Ethan leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of Merlot and maple smoke, soft at first, then deepening, hands exploring with the hunger of men starved for truth. It was Miguel's first real kiss in Willow Creek, the kind that didn't end in regret. They tumbled onto the rug, clothes shedding like autumn skins, bodies mapping each other in the firelight. Ethan's skin was warm, freckled plains yielding under Miguel's palms, whispers of yes and here punctuating the night. Afterward, tangled in a quilt, Ethan traced lazy circles on Miguel's chest. "Stay," he breathed. Miguel did, waking to dawn's pale light and the scent of bacon sizzling in the kitchen. Over breakfast, flaky biscuits from a mix, eggs scrambled with herbs from Ethan's window box, they laughed about nothing, the ease of it terrifying in its novelty. But the letters gnawed at Miguel. At work that afternoon, as a gaggle of high schoolers raided the graphic novels, he slipped into the history section. Another search, the Mills records, faded ledgers listing workers. There, Jameson Jamie Lowell, 24 in 1952, apprenticed under Elias's father. Lowell. J. A grainy photo showed a young man with sharp cheekbones and eyes like storm clouds, standing beside Elias at a company picnic, their shoulders brushing in a way the camera couldn't quite capture. Jamie Lowell. Miguel's breath hitched. The town lore painted him as the drifter who vanished after Elias's death, rumored to have skipped town with gambling debts. But the letters painted a different portrait, a love fierce enough to defy the era's iron grip. That evening, Ethan arrived at the library unannounced, a paper bag from the co-op swinging in his hand. Apples, cider, a wedge of Vermont cheddar. Date night in the stacks? He teased, green eyes sparkling. Miguel locked the door early, flipping the sign to closed. They picnicked on the reading room floor, amid Pride and Prejudice and the bell jar, sharing bites and stories. Emboldened by the wine Ethan had smuggled, Miguel confessed a sliver. Found something the other day. Old letters. From the 50s. About two men. Ethan's fork paused mid-air. Like us. Before us, Miguel said, voice thick. They loved in secret. It got to me. Ethan set the food aside, drawing Miguel close. Show me. In the dim office, Miguel unlocked the drawer, the envelopes trembling in his hands. They read by desk lamp, the words unfolding like petals. Jamie's pleas for stolen nights at the mill, where the river's rush drowned their gasps. Elias's vows to run away to Boston, where whispers wouldn't reach. The language was coded, the rivers bend, for their bodies entwined. But the passion bled through, raw and unapologetic. Ethan's jaw tightened. My uncle, God. He knew Jamie. Used to say the man broke after Elias died. Drowned himself in the Winooski, or so the story goes. But this changes everything. Miguel's stomach twisted. Ethan's uncle, Harlan Graves? No. Wait, Ethan had said his uncle left him the house. Lowell? Connections flickered, half-formed. What do you mean? Ethan hesitated. Then, Uncle Jamie. Jameson Lowell. He never married. Lived alone all those years. The letters. They're his legacy. The room spun. Miguel pulled back. The revelation a chasm. You knew. Not about this, Ethan insisted, reaching. He died last spring. Left me the house out of the blue. Said I reminded him of someone young and foolish. I thought it was pity, but doubt seeded. Miguel gathered the letters, folding them away. I need time. Ethan's face fell, but he nodded. Fair. But Miguel, this isn't coincidence. It's a bridge. Alone that night, Miguel paced his apartment, the floorboards creaking like accusations. Jamie was Ethan's uncle. The man whose love had been erased, now reaching across decades through his nephew's eyes. Felt faded, yet fragile, as if one wrong step would shatter it all. The next morning, Willow Creek stirred with its usual hum. Trucks rumbling to the quarry, kids on bikes to school, the church bell tolling 9. But undercurrents rippled. At the library, Harlan Graves appeared, his cane tapping like a metronome. Heard you found something in the stacks, Reyes. Historical? Miguel's throat dried. Just donations, Mr. Graves. Harlan's eyes narrowed, milky with age but sharp. Mind the past, boy. Some skeletons stay buried for a reason. The warning lingered as Miguel shelved books. Ethan's text burning unread. Talk soon? By closing, resolve hardened. He drove to Maple Lane, the letters clutched like talismans. Ethan opened the door, hope and fear etched in his features. I'm in, Miguel said, stepping inside. All the way, their kiss was fierce, a reclamation, bodies crashing together on the stairs, urgency born of fear. In the bedroom, with moonlight silvering the quilts, they moved as one, slow, then frantic, whispers of names blending past and present. Elias and Jamie, Miguel and Ethan, loves defying time's cruel tide. But as they lay spent, a knock shattered the night. Ethan groaned, pulling on jeans. Downstairs, Ben Caldwell stood on the porch, rain-slicked and grim. "Ethan, your uncle's things. Found this in the attic." He thrust a box forward, cardboard sodden. Inside, more letters, bound with twine, and a photo. Elias and Jamie, arms slung casual, eyes locked eternal. Ben's gaze flicked to Miguel, hardening. "You too. Careful. Town's got long memories." The door shut, but the seed of exposure sprouted. Willow Creek's secrets were stirring, and Miguel, once ignored, now held the key to their flood. Whispers spread through Willow Creek like frost on windshields, subtle at first, then crystalline, impossible to ignore. By midweek, Miguel caught sidelong glances at the post office, where Mrs. Ellis, the clerk with the perpetual perm, tallied his stamps with pursed lips. "Heard Ethan's fixing up the Lowell place nice," she said. "Not quite a question. Bringing life back to old ghosts." Miguel mumbled thanks, escaping to his truck. The engine's rumble a poor shield against the unease coiling in his gut. The letters, now a small stack, unearthed from the box Ben had delivered, painted a fuller picture. Jamie's post-war return from Korea, shell-shocked and seeking solace in the mill's rhythm. Elias's quiet rebellion against his father's empire. Their first meeting a chance brush in the library where Miguel now presided. The irony twisted like knife work. Ethan dove into the archive with fervor, sketching timelines on butcher paper tacked to his kitchen wall. "Look here," he'd say over takeout from the Chinese place in St. Johnsbury, pointing to a passage where Jamie described Elias's hands, calloused from axes, gentle as rain on fevered skin. Their evenings blurred into nights of discovery and desire. The Victorians' Creek's a soundtrack to lovemaking that grew bolder, less shadowed by doubt. Yet Miguel's joy was laced with foreboding. At the library, patrons lingered longer, questions veering from book recommendations to probing nostalgia. "You ever hear about the Whitakers and Lowells?" asked old Mr. Finch one afternoon, his pipe smoke curling like interrogatives. "Fell out over the mill, they say. Bad blood. History's full of that," Miguel replied evenly, stamping a return. But inside, the words echoed Harlan Graves' warning. The Historical Society head had taken to weekly visits, ostensibly for research, but his eyes scoured the shelves as if hunting contraband. Ethan, oblivious or defiant, pushed forward. "We should share this," he declared one Sunday, as they hiked the trail to the old mill, now a ruin choked with brambles, the river below churning secrets into foam. "An exhibit. Honor them." Miguel halted, boots sinking in mud. "The town isn't ready, Ethan. You saw Ben's face. Ben's a gossip with a grudge." Ethan shot back, green eyes flashing. "This could heal us. Show Willow Creek we're more than our silences." The argument simmered, unresolved, as they reached the mill's skeletal frame. Vines strangled the beams where Jamie and Elias had once carved initials. E+J. Faint but enduring. Miguel traced them, fingers reverent. They hid here. Like we do. Ethan pulled him close, lips brushing his temple. We don't have to, but they did. In subtle ways. Stolen kisses in Ethan's truck. Hands laced under diner tables. Until the fair Willow Creek's harvest bash. A riot of pumpkin pies and hayrides under strung bulbs. Miguel attended alone. Ethan delayed by a design deadline. The air buzzed with fiddle music, laughter mingling with the scent of fried dough. He was nursing a cider when Harlan Graves materialized. Cane planted like a stake. Reyes. A word. They retreated to the edge of the field, where cornstalks whispered judgments. I've heard rumors, Harlan rasped, breath sour with whiskey. About you and that Hale boy. And my family's letters. Miguel's blood iced. Your family? Whitaker, Harlan confirmed. Eyes like chipped flint. Elias was my uncle. Those letters are ours, private. You'll return them, or I'll see this library gutted for misappropriation. The threat landed heavy. Their history, Mr. Graves. Not yours to bury. Harlan leaned in, voice a venomous thread. History's what winners write, boy. And in Willow Creek, we win by forgetting. Miguel fled the fair, the music mocking his retreat. At home, he slammed the door, letters spilling from the drawer like accusations. Ethan's call came as he paced. Where are you? Missed you. Harlan knows, Miguel blurted, the words tumbling. He recounted the confrontation, the venom. Silence. Then Ethan's voice, steel-edged, screw him. We're doing the exhibit anyway. For Jamie. For us. No, Miguel snapped, fear sharpening to anger. You don't get it. This town chews up outsiders, your uncle learned that. I'm not running, Ethan retorted. And neither should you. The line went dead, the silence deafening. Miguel sank to the floor, head in hands, the weight of generations pressing down. Love, seemed, was a river beautiful, but prone to flash floods. Reconciliation came haltingly. Ethan arrived at dawn, coffee and apologies in hand. I pushed too hard, he admitted, cupping Miguel's face. But I won't let fear win. They made love slowly that morning. Bodies a dialogue of amends, tender strokes mapping apologies, breaths sinking like prayers. Afterward, wrapped in sheets, Ethan proposed a compromise. Digitize the letters, share anonymously online first, gauge the waters. Miguel agreed, relief mingling with resolve. They spent the day scanning pages, Ethan's laptop whirring on the kitchen table. As dusk fell, a knock, Ben again, this time with a casserole, his wife's peace offering. Heard about the dust up, he grunted, eyes evading Miguel's. Town's stirring. Folks talking Lowell like he's a saint now. Inside the dish. A note. Careful with fire. Boys. Some bridges burn easy. Ben's scrawl. Laced with warning or wisdom. That night, as they uploaded the first batch to a private blog, Shadows of Willow Creek. Miguel felt the shift. Exposure's thrill. Terror's bite. Comments trickled in from afar, historians praising the find, LGBTQ archives reaching out. But locally, ripples grew. Monday brought the storm. At the library, a petition circulated, spearheaded by Harlan, demanding the obscene materials removed. Patrons divided, some, like teacher Ms. Rivera, defended free speech. Others, church elders, decried deviant propaganda. Ethan stood by Miguel at closing, arm a defiant loop around his waist. "We're in this." But as they locked up, a brick sailed through the window, glass shattering like brittle bones, a note taped to the shard, "Burn your sins." The town, once indifferent, now watched with predatory eyes. Miguel's hand found Ethan's, squeezing. The letters had awakened something primal. Not just love's echo, but fear's roar. The shattered window gaped like a wound, shards glittering under the street lamp's indifferent gaze. Miguel swept the glass at dawn, each scrape of broom a meditation on fragility, how one toss could fracture not just pain but peace. Ethan arrived with plywood and tools, his face set in quiet fury. "Bastards," he muttered, hammering the board in place. "We'll replace it." Stronger, but strength felt illusory as Willow Creek calcified around them. The petition swelled, signatures inked with righteous strokes. "Protect our children from filth." Harlan Graves presided over emergency town meetings in the VFW hall, his voice booming scriptures and bylaws. "This library, funded by our taxes, peddles perversion." Ms. Rivera countered in the local paper, an op-ed titled "Letters from the Heart, Willow Creek's True Legacy," praising the fine's humanity. But the backlash surged, boycotts on the co-op where Ethan shopped, whispers trailing Miguel at the gas station. No wonder his mama never remarried. Apple doesn't fall far. Isolation crept in, insidious as damp rot. Miguel's mother, Rosa, called from her new apartment in Burlington, voice quivering over the line. "Mijo, the neighbors. They talk about you and this boy. Come home." "It's my home," he insisted, though doubt gnawed. Rosa had endured slurs after his father's death, wetback widow, yet shielded him with fierce silence. Now, her worry mirrored his own. Love's cost in a town unyielding as granite. Ethan fared no better. Design gigs dried up, clients citing distractions. He threw himself into the blog, curating posts with Miguel's input, transcriptions, context, even imagined dialogues between Elias and Jamie, poetic bridges across time. Their audience grew, distant voices lauding the courage. "This is our story, too." But locally, venom pooled. One evening, as snow dusted the hills, early for Vermont, Ben Caldwell knocked on Ethan's door, uninvited. Miguel answered, tension coiling. "Truce talk," Ben said, holding a six-pack. "Mind if I come in?" They sat in the kitchen, steam rising from mugs of spiked cocoa. Ben's eyes, weathered by quarry dust, softened. "Ain't here to judge. Lost a brother to AIDS in '92 San Francisco. Town said he strayed too far. Bullshit. He was brave. The confession hung. A bridge extended. Then why the warnings? Ethan asked, guarded. Ben sighed, cracking a beer. Harlan's got pull. Old money, old hates. But folks like my wife, they're coming around. Saw the blog. Cried over Jamie's words. Hope flickered. Fragile. Ben left with a promise. I'll speak at the next meeting. Quiet-like, emboldened, Miguel and Ethan attended the council session, hands clasped under the folding table. The room buzzed, farmers in Carhartts, teachers in cardigans, Harlan at the podium like a judge. When public comment opened, Ben rose. These letters ain't filth. They're us. Loves we lost. Lives we hid. My brother. He deserved better. So does Willow Creek. Murmurs rippled. Some nods. Some scowls. MS. Rivera followed, reading aloud from Elias. What sin is there in the way your laugh breaks the silence? The words landed soft, piercing. Harlan countered. Voice thunder. Sodom's folly. Our forebears built this town on God and grit. Not this, but the tide's turning. Council tabled the petition. Pending review. Outside, in the parking lot slick with melt, a cluster approached, younger faces, queer allies from the college crowd in nearby Lindenville. We're with you, one said, hugging Miguel. Pride next summer, Willow Creek chapter? The gesture warmed, but Harlan's parting glare chilled. This ain't over, Reyes. That night, victory's glow fueled their passion. In Ethan's bed, with snow tapping the panes like applause, they loved with abandon, bodies arching, names gasped like incantations. I love you, Ethan whispered post-climax, the words a vow etched in sweat-slick skin. Miguel froze, then melted. Love you too. It was the first utterance, sealing them. But dawn brought reality. A letter in Miguel's mailbox. Anonymous. Typed, Jamie was a coward. Ran after Elias died. You will too. Doubt resurfaced. But Ethan quashed it with plans. A private reading of the full archive. Invite only. At the library. Heal from within, he urged. Preparations consumed them. Invitations handwritten on library stock. Chairs rearranged. Cider mulled. The night arrived crisp. Stars pricking the velvet sky. 20 souls gathered. Ben and his wife. MS. Rivera. A few elders. Ethan's new friends. Miguel stood at the podium, voice steady as he read Jamie's final missive. 10 days after the crash. Elias gone. And the world grays. I see your face in every shadow. Hear your voice in the wind. If forgiveness exists, let it find me. But know this, our love was no sin, but salvation. Tears flowed, unabashed. An elder, Mr. Finch, rose trembling. My father. He was Jay's brother. Knew, but said nothing. Shame's a heavy load. Confessions cascaded, hidden affairs, unspoken griefs, the room a confessional. As it wound down, Harlan burst in, face apoplectic. What is this blasphemy? But Ben blocked him. Sit, Harlan. Or leave. Your choice. Harlan stormed out, door slamming like judgment. The group lingered, bonds forging in vulnerability's forge. Later, alone in the stacks, Ethan pulled Miguel into an alcove. "We did it," he breathed, kissing him fierce. But as lips met, Miguel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown. Check the blog. Harlan's leak. Heart sinking, they huddled over the screen. Harlan had posted scans, twisted, out of context captioned "Library pushes agenda," exposed the deviants. Lies woven, claims the letters were forgeries. Miguel, a radical importer, pushing borderline smut. The betrayal stung, fresh as the bricks crash. "He went nuclear," Ethan growled. Miguel's resolve cracked. "I can't. This is my life." Ethan's eyes pleaded. "Fight with me, but fear. That old architect built walls anew. I need space." The drive home blurred through tears, Willow Creek's lights mocking. Love had bloomed, but thorns drew blood. The letters, once healers, now harbingers of war. Fracture lines spiderwebbed through the days following Harlan's sabotage. Willow Creek fracturing along fault lines long dormant. The blog comments turned toxic. Trolls from afar spewing slurs. Locals piling on with veiled threats. "Go back to where you came from, Reyes." Miguel's shifts at the library shortened. The council citing public safety, leaving him to wander the empty aisles like a curator of ghosts. Ethan called daily, voice a lifeline across the chasm. "Come over. We'll weather it." But Miguel demurred, holing up in his apartment, curtains drawn against prying eyes. The letters, now digitized and damned, mocked him from his laptop, Elias and Jamie's words desecrated by Harlan's spin. He'd betrayed them, exposing without armor. Rosa arrived unannounced one gray afternoon, her compact frame burdened with a tote of empanadas and worry. "Mijo, you look like death warmed over." She bustled into the kitchen, frying plantains while he spilled the saga letters. Love, the leak. Her eyes, dark mirrors of his own, softened. "Your father. He knew about you. Before he died. Said, let him love as God made him. But this town, it chews love like gristle." Miguel's chest ached. "I love him, Mama. But it's tearing me apart." She cupped his face, thumbs rough from years of needles. "Then fight smart, not scared." Jamie and Elias, they whispered because they had to. "You, shout if you can." Her words lingered as she left, a seed in barren soil. That evening, Miguel ventured to the diner neutral ground. Flo, the owner, slid him pie gratis. "Harlan's bluster," she confided, wiping the counter. "Lost his own boy to the bottle years back. Hates mirrors. Comfort. Small but solid." Yet when Ethan texted dinner, "Please," Miguel's thumb hovered, then typed yes. Maple Lane welcomed him with lamplight glow. Ethan at the stove in an apron dusted with flour, lasagna bubbling, salad crisp. They ate in charged quiet, forks clinking like Morse code. "I'm sorry," Miguel started. Ethan's hand covered his. "Don't." I pushed the exhibit. "This is on Harlan." "But I let fear win," Miguel pressed, voice cracking. "After the brick, the leak. I hid." Ethan's gaze held steady. Hiding's what killed Jamie. Stayed silent. Drowned in it. The truth landed brutal. Miguel pushed his plate away. What if I can't be brave? Then we learn together. Ethan's chair scraped, pulling Miguel up into arms that smelled of basil and home. The kiss ignited slow, then consuming down the hall to bed, where urgency met tenderness, bodies reaffirming what words faltered. In the afterglow, Ethan traced Miguel's spine. Marry me. Not now, but someday. Make this real. Miguel's breath caught, joy warring with terror. Yes, he whispered, the word a leap. Dawn brought plotting, counter the leak. With Ben's help, quiet ally now, they drafted a response post. Full archive attached. Narrative reclaimed. Not agenda. Truth. MS. Rivera's students designed graphics. Even Mr. Finch contributed a foreword. His father's silence forgiven in ink. Uploading felt like hurling a stone skyward. Praying flight. Views surged. Support flooding. National blogs. Queer podcasts. A Vermont senator's tweet. Locally, schisms deepened, church split. Some pews emptying in quiet revolt. Harlan retaliated, suing the library for defamation, claiming forgery. The hearing loomed. A guillotine. Miguel testified first. Voice amplified by rehearsal. These letters honor Willow Creek's heart. Love's endurance amid hardship. Harlan's turn was venom. Imported agitator. Twisting our heritage for his. Lifestyle. The judge. A stern woman from Montpelier. Ruled dismissal. Insufficient evidence. But damage lingered. Outside court. Harlan cornered Miguel. You think you win? Elias was my blood. Jamie? A stain. Then honor them. Miguel shot back. Spine steel. Not erase. Harlan's face twisted. Rage. Then. Fracture? He turned away. Cane faltering. That night. Victory intimate. Ethan proposed properly. Ring scavenged from Jamie's attic. A simple gold band. Engraved E+J, faint but true. Wear it when ready, he said, slipping it on Miguel's finger. Tears blurred. I will, but crisis crested unexpectedly. Rosa called frantic. Your cousin in Burlington saw Harlan at the bar. Talking wild. Hours later, Miguel's truck swerved on Route 5. Headlights catching a figure in the road. Harlan, deliberate, eyes wild with whiskey. Brake screamed. Tires hydroplaning on black ice. Impact glancing. Harlan tumbled into ditch. Miguel wrenching to halt. Sirens wailed. Ambulance lights strobing the night. Harlan survived, broken leg. Concussion, but in hospital. Confession poured. Elias. I knew. Found the letters after the crash. Burned most. Kept one, to remember the shame. Shame. The word poisoned. Harlan's son, lost to addiction, had been gay closeted. Harlan's silence a noose. Pushed him away. He wept to the nurse. Words leaking to press. The revelation cracked Willow Creek open. Obituaries recast. Not accidents, but echoes of unlived truths. Vigils sprouted. Candles at the mill. Readings from the letters in the park. Miguel and Ethan attended, hands linked openly. Ben clapped Miguel's shoulder. You healed us, kid. But healing's price. Harlan stroked days later, bedridden, whispering regrets to empty rooms. Miguel visited once, alone. Forgive, Harlan rasped. Not yet, Miguel said gently. But maybe. Outside, Ethan waited, arms open. Love, battered but breathing, endured. Winter clamped down on Willow Creek with iron jaws. Blizzards burying roads in white amnesia, forcing the town inward to fireplaces and feuds. The letter's aftershocks reverberated, a pride flag fluttering defiantly from Emis. Rivera's porch, boycotts fizzling as co-op shelves emptied of judgment. Yet for Miguel, the victory tasted ash-tinged. Harlan's confession, splashed across the Burlington Free Press, humanized the villain but unearthed Miguel's own guilts. Had exposure hastened the stroke? The ring on his finger, Jamie's band, felt heavier than gold, a relic demanding more than he'd given. Ethan sensed the drift, his touches lingering longer, questions probing gentler. Talk to me. He'd urge over cocoa in the Victorian's bay window, snowflakes waltzing beyond the glass. Miguel would deflect with chores, shoveling the library walk, cataloging donations, burying turmoil in routine. The betrayal brewed subtle, insidious. It started with Ben, a casual beer at Flo's, Miguel unwinding after a donor gala where patrons toasted the letter legacy. Ben's eyes, over foam, sharpened. Ethan's been busy. Heard he's pitching that blog to publishers. Book deal. Maybe, Miguel chuckled. Ambitious as ever, Ben leaned in, voice low. Careful, though. Money changes folks. Remember my brother went to the city, came back different. Greedier, the seed planted, Miguel brushed it off. But nights alone, as Ethan worked late on proposals, doubt sprouted, Ethan's laptop perpetually open, emails from agents glowing. Compelling narrative. Personal angle, 1 February Eve. Storm howling. Miguel arrived at Maple Lane to find Ethan on the phone. Animated. Yes. The queer Vermont angle timely. Miguel's story adds heart. He hung, spotting Miguel in the doorway. Hey, just networking. For the book, Miguel asked, coat dripping. Ethan's grin faltered. Maybe. It's our story, too. Healing Willow Creek. Think of the impact. Ours. But the you're in Ethan's pitch echoed Ben's warning. Using me as color? No, Ethan reached, but Miguel stepped back. It's collaboration. We tell it together. Together, Miguel echoed. Hollow. He stayed the night, but walls rose in bed, proximity without presence. Cracks widened. Anonymous emails trickled to the library, Ethan's selling out Jamie's pain. Check his drafts. Miguel resisted, but curiosity clawed. One midnight, Ethan asleep, Miguel crept to the study. Folders labeled Willow MS. Chapters on Elias and Jamie. Then a section, Miguel, the modern echo, detailing their romance. Intimate details woven like plot points. His immigrant roots add texture to the town's xenophobia. Betrayal bloomed cold. Not malice, but exploitation, love commodified. Miguel fled to his apartment, the ring left on the desk like severance. Dawn brought Ethan's frantic knocks. What happened? You vanished. Miguel opened the door, eyes red-rimmed. I read it. My story, our bed, my fears. For a book, Ethan paled. Drafts, Miguel. Rough. I wanted your input. Input, laughter bitter. You pitched me to agents. Without asking. I thought, Ethan stammered. It's our healing. Shared. Yours, Miguel corrected. Voice steel. I'm the quiet librarian. Remember, not your character. The argument escalated. Voices ricocheting off bare walls. Accusations of selfishness. Fear-mongering. You're sabotaging us, Ethan yelled. Just like Harlan, the barb struck deep. Miguel shoved him toward the door. Get out. We're done. Ethan left, snow swallowing his truck's taillights. Alone, Miguel crumpled, sobs racking, the ring's absence a phantom ache. He trusted, bared, only to be scripted. Willow Creek noticed the rift. Ethan at the diner solo. Miguel's smile strained. Ben cornered him at the pumps. Told you. City's poison. Stay out, Miguel snapped, driving off. Rosa visited again, sensing fracture. He loves you, Mijo. Flaws and all. Love shouldn't rewrite you, Miguel countered, though doubt flickered. Weeks blurred in numbness. Library quiet. Patrons tiptoeing around the elephant. The blog updated solo. Ethan's posts clinical. Miguel's contributions halted. Then, a package. Manuscript galleys. Inscribed for Miguel our story. Forgive, E. Miguel burned it in the sink. Flames devouring pages. Smoke acrid as regret. But ashes couldn't erase the pull. Nights replaying touches. Mornings craving his laugh. Crisis peaked at spring thaw. Mud sucking at tires like grief. Harlan died. Stroke sequel. Funeral packed with hypocrites. Miguel attended. Ethan across the grave. Eyes locking in silent agony. Afterward, in the receiving line, Harlan's daughter approached Miguel. Dad's last words, tell the librarian. Sorry, the letters. He kept one. For you, she pressed an envelope, Elias to Jamie. Unburned. Love endures burial. Dig it up. Miguel's resolve quavered. Driving to Maple Lane. Rain lashing. He knocked. Ethan opened. Haggard. Miguel. We talk, Miguel said. No drafts. Just us. Inside. Truth spilled. Ethan's ambition born of loss. Ex's abandonment. Uncle's isolation. I twisted it. Afraid you'd leave if I didn't hold on. Miguel's anger softened to sorrow. You rewrote me to keep me. Forgive, Ethan whispered. Not yet, Miguel echoed his own words to Harlan. But start. They embraced. Tentative, no passion, but possibility. Healing's path wound treacherous, but the letters whispered, persist. Spring unfurled in Willow Creek with tentative mercy. Crocuses piercing mud. Rivers swelling with melt. mirroring the slow thaw in Miguel and Ethan's fractured bond. They met in neutrals, walks along the Winooski, coffees at flows where Ben mediated with gruff wisdom. No rings exchanged, no beds shared, boundaries rebuilt brick by careful brick. Trust's a muscle, Ethan said one misty morning, hands in pockets as they skirted the mill's ruins. We tore it. Now strengthen. Miguel nodded, the envelope from Harlan's daughter tucked in his coat, Elias's words a compass. Dig it up. He shared it with Ethan over picnic lunch on the riverbank, voices low against the current's rush. Harlan's apology. Through me, Ethan traced the script. Redemption's late, but real. His eyes met Miguel's. Vulnerable. Like us, Miguel conceded. Conversations deepened. Ethan's manuscript shelved indefinitely. A bonfire of vanities. Miguel's fears unpacked. Abandonment's echo from his father's grave. I push away to protect, he admitted, skipping stones that plipped into oblivion. Ethan caught his hand. I'm not going, Progress stuttered. A weekend alone. Miguel drove to Burlington, Rose's arms a bomb. She cooked mole, stories flowing, her own youth, a flirtation with a village girl quashed by migration's haste. Love's borderless, Mijo. But fear builds walls. Refreshed, he returned to find Ethan organizing a town archive, volunteers sorting donations, Ms. Rivera leading. Your idea, Ethan explained, sleeves rolled. Letters as cornerstone. Miguel joined, sorting yellow deeds and diaries, fingers brushing Ethan's in the boxes. A spark, unacted. Evenings, they parted with hugs lingering seconds longer, the air charged with unspoken want. Crisis loomed from without, a developer eyeing the mill site, condos, erasing history. Harlan's daughter, Eliza, rallied opposition, approaching Miguel at the library. Dad's legacy twisted, but tied here. Help us save it. The petition drive ignited purpose. Miguel and Ethan co-chaired, their partnership public, hands shaking at meetings, no more hiding. Willow Creek watched, wary then warming, farmers signing, kids painting protest banners with intertwined hearts. Intimacy crept back gradual, a shared umbrella in downpour, Ethan's thumb grazing Miguel's wrist. One starlit night, post-rally bonfire, faces aglow with cider and camaraderie, Ethan pulled Miguel aside. Miss you. All of you. Miguel's breath hitched. Miss you too. The kiss ignited under oaks. Tentative then torrent, hands in hair, bodies pressing as flames crackled nearby. They tumbled home to Miguel's apartment. First time since the rift. Lovemaking rediscovered. Slower. Sacred. Whispers of sorry and stay punctuated moans. Release a catharsis. But dawn brought reckoning. Ethan's phone buzzed. Agent voicemail. Book interest cooling. Personal drama kills sales. He laughed it off. But Miguel saw the sting. It's okay, Miguel said, tracing his jaw. We are enough. Summer bloomed defiant. Pride picnic at the park. Rainbow flags snapping in breeze. Miguel spoke, voice carrying, Elias and Jamie taught us. Love buried festers. Unearth it, and we grow. Ethan followed, arm around Miguel, This town's secrets healed us. Now we heal it back. Cheers erupted. Ben hoisting a beer. To bridges, yet undercurrents swirled. Eliza confided post-picnic. Dad's will, contested. Harlan Jr. wants the land sold. For profit. Betrayal specter, familial greed. Miguel confronted his own. Rosa ill. Tests pending cancer scare. Fight it, he urged over phone. Voice breaking. Like we fight. Her laugh. Weak. Always. Mijo. The developer's bid escalated. Court dates looming. Miguel and Ethan testified. Passion laced with facts. Historical value. Tourism potential. Opponents packed the room. Harlan Jr. sneering from the back. Ruling favored preservation. Land trust formed. Mill reborn as museum. Elation communal. Bonfire redux. Toasts to ghosts. In the glow. Ethan knelt. Jamie's ring glinting. Marry me. For real. Tears pricked. Yes, but crisis crested personal. Rosa's diagnosis confirmed. Treatable, but trials ahead. Miguel flew to her side. Ethan insisting, I'm coming. Burlington Hospital hummed sterile. Rosa pale but smiling. Brought the family, she teased, squeezing Ethan's hand. Nights in her room. Miguel confessed doubts. What if I can't balance town? Her. Ethan's vow. We will. Return to Willow Creek fortified. But storm broke. Leak. Fabricated emails. Miguel profiting from letters via secret deals. Harlan Jr.'s work. Vengeance veiled. Accusations flew, counsel probing. Patrons doubting. Miguel faced the fire, town hall. Lights harsh. Lies, he declared. Evidence in hand. Check the accounts. All transparent. Ethan backed him. Voice fierce. This is harassment. For what? A dead man's grudge. Truth prevailed, emails traced to Junior's IP. Arrest followed. Charges of fraud. Willow Creek exhaled. Bonds tightening. Miguel visited Rosa post-chemo. Her grip strong. Proud. Mijo. Love wins. Back home. Ethan waiting, dinner simmering. Ring on the table. Ours now. They made love. Bodies a testament. Fierce. Forgiving. Healing's arc bent. But held. Autumn returned to Willow Creek cloaked in gold and crimson. The leaves a carpet for the mill's grand reopening. A museum christened Echoes of the River. Its walls lined with letters under glass. Audio booths reciting Jamie and Elias's words in actors' tender timbers. Miguel stood at the ribbon cutting. Ethan's hand warm in his. Rosa frail but beaming from a front row chair. Her wig askew but spirit unbowed. To loves that whisper through time, Miguel intoned. Shears snipping. Crowd applauding as doors swung wide. The exhibit wove history visceral. Timelines etched in oak. Photos restored. Interactive maps tracing the couple's haunts, the library alcove, the river bend. Visitors trickled then streamed. Families from Burlington, historians from Boston, queer pilgrims seeking mirrors. Willow Creek transformed. BNBS booked. The diner slinging Elias eggs with a wink. But deeper, the shift rooted in Soul's MS. Rivera weaving letters into curriculum. Ben leading tours with gruff anecdotes of his brother. Miguel and Ethan's wedding anchored the season. A harvest affair at the park, hay bales for pews, wildflowers twining arches, Rosa officiating in a borrowed stole, her voice steady despite treatments. "In this town of secrets," she pronounced. Eyes on Miguel. "You've unearthed the greatest. Love's quiet power." Vows exchanged under harvest moon. Elias's echo. Rings sliding smooth. Jamie's band joined by a mate engraved "Dig Deep." Honeymoon local. Cabin in the Green Mountains. Days hiking trails scented pine. Nights tangled in flannel sheets. Bodies fluent in forgiveness. "This," Ethan murmured one dawn, lips on Miguel's collarbone, "is our plot twist." Return brought purpose renewed. Rosa's scans cleared, remission's gift, and she relocated nearer, sewing quilts for the museum gift shop, threads of tamale recipes shared over dinners. Willow Creek's pulse steadied. Pride annual now. Flags year-round on lampposts. A scholarship in Jamie's name for LGBTQ youth. Funded by book royalties. Ethan's tome. Co-authored. Truths balanced with grace. Yet humanity's hue included shadow. Harlan Jr.'s trial dragged. His pleas of family honor crumbling under evidence. Sentence light but lesson stark. Vengeance hollows. Eliza visited Miguel post-verdict. Envelope in hand, Harlan Sr.'s final letter. "To no one, forgive my blindness. Let the river carry it." Miguel framed it beside the originals. A triad of reckoning. One crisp eve. As snow teased the air, Miguel and Ethan walked the mill path, arms linked. "Think they watch?" Ethan asked, nodding to stars. "Whispering approval," Miguel replied, head on shoulder. The town, once tomb for secrets, now cradle, secrets aired, wounds scarred to strength. Miguel, no longer ignored, tended the library's heart. Story hours for kids on hidden heroes. Adult circles dissecting love's latitudes. Ethan designed exhibits statewide. Their home a haven of half-read proofs and herb pots. Years folded. Rosa's health waxed. Then waned. Peaceful passing in spring. Miguel at bedside. Ethan's hand anchor. Grief communal, funeral potluck. Tamales and tears. Her quilt draped the casket. She dug deepest, Ben toasted. In widowhood's hush, Miguel curated Rosa's threads, quilts as exhibit, stories stitched in. Ethan proposed expansions, traveling show, podcast series. Their love matured, less fire, more hearth, anniversaries at the river, renewing vows in Jamie's code. Willow Creek endured, secrets healed into lore. School plays on Elias and Jamie. Benches engraved love breaks silence. Outsiders arrived, drawn by the tale, weaving new threads, queer families settling, diversity blooming like asters. One twilight, Miguel found a letter in the stacks. Anonymous, fresh, "You saved us." From one who waited. He smiled, pocketing it, sharing with Ethan over wine. The cycle, as winter blanketed anew. They stood at the window, breaths fogging glass. "What now?" Ethan asked. "More stories," Miguel said, kissing him soft. "Ours, there's endless." In Willow Creek, the quiet librarian's legacy bloomed. A town unburdened, loves unearthed, healing's quiet revolution.